Hello there and welcome to this session. And this session is all about how to export Parquet file from SQL Server databases. For this kind of implementation, we have several third-party tools available, and those are costly and it's very difficult to implement. And they also consume many resources. One of the recommended mechanism is to use Parquet.net that is provided by Microsoft. But there are many coding requirements with that. So instead of using that, I would suggest you to use Python, and there are several Python libraries available. Those are very useful and advanced. And what I can call it them advanced because what happens that any changes in Parquet file format or any new version appears, you will definitely get them to the Python libraries. So I would suggest you to use Python, and this will be just a 10-15 lines of code. Even if you're not expert in Python or if you're not aware of this demo is going to tell you exact details about them. So without wasting time, let's move to the demo. So these are the prerequisites, and those are like you have to install Python. You can go to python.org downloads and you can install the latest version available over there. And this testing I've done with 3.11, 3.12, so it will definitely be working fine. So installation is very easy and quick, so I don't want to include them. And then you have to have SQL Server. Of course, you have a SQL Server from which you want to export it from. And you should have Visual Studio Code that is highly available and you can download it from Microsoft. You can also use PyCharm or any other tool that is available for Python. And you can also use command line or notepad also to edit. But I would suggest you to use Visual Studio Code that gives you many flexibility. So this is my setup plan. So we'll be installing Python with default setting and Visual Studio Code will be installed already. And this is all set up what you have to do. The next I'm going to go ahead with the implementation. So let's move ahead with the implementation. So now this is Visual Studio Code open, and what I'll do, I'll just create a new folder over a location. So and let's select this folder. And before we go ahead, let's create a virtual environment for Python for at least this development what we are doing. So let's go ahead and run Python. I assume that Python is already installed. If you want to check if it's installed or not correctly, or the path is correctly set, you can run where Python, and this will give you like that two locations. I think one Microsoft location and 3.11. So this is there, and we'll also check whether PIP is installed. PIP is used for adding packages. So we can see both of them has been installed correctly and the path is set. Let's clear the screen and exit this. Let's move ahead with, and here we run Python -m venv and venv. So we want to create a virtual environment so that all the libraries what we create here will be created under this section, and everything will be configured based on that. So to get it completed, we need to at least add few of the libraries. So let's move ahead and install all of them before we start the work. PIP install pandas. Okay, so this is clear, installed. Let's move ahead with other one. PIP install SQLAlchemy is done. PIP install. The third one is pyodbc, and fourth one is just PIP install pyarrow. Okay, so let me list all of them so that you are aware of that. Let's create something like requirements. We installed this, we installed SQLAlchemy. We also installed PIP install pyodbc, PIP install pyarrow. Okay, so these things has been installed. Let's go ahead and continue with our main part. Let's create one blank file using this, and we call it like export to parquet.py. So as soon the extension has been given by this has got it, because what I've done is that before we do anything, we can search in the extension. This is the extension section, and we can search for Python. You can see here, and these are the libraries that are required for Python to work inside this Visual Studio Code. Since if you may need debugging or any other option, so you just get it installed. I've already installed, that's why it's appearing here. But if you don't have it, then you will be able to install, and there's no cost for pay or anything you have to pay for this, so there's no problem. Now I have just 10-15 lines of code that I'll paste it here. Okay, total 15 lines as I told, and so this is like import pandas as PD, and we just use SQLAlchemy. So here we import create engine part, and the next step is to connect to SQL Server with SQLAlchemy. Before we go ahead with this, I'll just show you that database, whether we have everything in place or not. So here we can see that SQL Server instance is running fine, and we have this demodb database. This is a small example I have set that will create an employee table with ID, name, mobile number. And let's go ahead and check whether that table already exists. Okay, it has been dropped. Let me create it, and then we can select from this table. And the data what we have now is select star from employee. So we have 4 rows. Okay, with the implementation we'll want to at least see all these 4 rows. Back to our script. So this is the connection what I'm doing here. Like for example, this is pyodbc. This goadmin, that is a username. So I can just add it here. So this is username. Oh, sorry, not here. This is username, and this is the password, and then this is the instance name. This is instance name completely till here, and this is the database name, and rest all remains the same. So you have to change all these values based on your environment, and you can try this. So once this engine variable has been set, the next one is to start with the SQL query. You can provide a query, and for example, if you have any, for example, I've written sysdatabases, let's rename it to employee. And if you want to export certain data, for example, you have data which you want to export as a partition, so you can export the data based on that. For example, if you have a data for certain dates, you can provide where clause, you can add those date ranges, right? So rest all things you can do here. For example, if you have a data which you want to export every day, and you want to run this job once, so that it will generate a Parquet file. So provide a proper naming convention to that Parquet file. You provide the dates and everything, and based on that you export the data. So that way you will be exporting the data which is only required. So your data is also partitioned, and tools like Databricks or uh, Azure Synapse, those can consume the data, and you can directly copy them to the related partitions. So this is SQL query what we have, select star from employee. And so this is SQL query, and this is the engine. Engine is nothing but we want to initialize it with this one that has kind of connection string. The next part is to export to Parquet file. Parquet path is like employee.parquet. So this is the file I'm going to create with this. Let us check if that file already exists. So that file does not exist. And the next one is to data. So what it does is it creates a data frame, and then it will export that one as a Parquet file. So this is the file path. We can directly use this variable here. I've given here, if you want to export it to different location, you can create directory in between, or before you run the Python, you can create directory. So based on your requirement, you can set that. and here we just name the file and we export to this path, and then we print a message like Parquet file has been generated successfully. So it's just only having 4 rows. It will be very quick, but in real example, maybe it might take some time. Okay, so you can press here, run Python. Okay, so it says no module called pandas. Let us see if we have to, maybe we ran it in a different way. I think this path was not correctly set. So I'll just repeat that step again since we have that requirement already. So let's install them again. Now install this, and next we install pyarrow. Okay, so make sure you see this VNV. I just missed that part before. Okay, so let's close this. We are all set. Let's move ahead and clear the screen and let's see how it goes. We just run it once. Okay, so the Parquet file has been generated. I can do ls. I can check this path. For example, let me reveal this one in File Explorer. Okay, and so this is the Parquet file. That is 3 KB. So the Parquet file looks okay, but how to confirm whether this file is okay or not? I've written another program that is also very small one. Let me create from here, and let's name it like export and then read from parquet.py. So this is the file which is doing export, and this one is read from Parquet. It's doing the same. I'll just rename it to the correct path, employee.parquet. So this example is not for very big data because it's going to print this data on the screen. This is just to validate whether this program is correct. So once you validate in your development environment, then you can work on with the real data, right? So let's run this. You can see, we can see the data here. So that was implementation with Python. You can schedule it. You can also compile this if you want. Otherwise, when you have to run it, you have to just run Python, and then you can use this file export to Parquet. You can try this export to Py. Just goes right like Python. You can provide the exact path of this file if you want to. For example, this E drive or anything. You can provide full path, or you can, if you are at the correct path, like for example I'm here at this C users goadmin location, I can run this and it generates that Parquet file directly. You can implement it in different ways. You can rename this file. You can add timestamp. For example, whenever we are running this is always exporting to this file and just creating new file out of that, overwriting, and that's what I am going to say. And so you can change this. You can, if you want to, you can add a timestamp here so that you don't overwrite the files, or you can just download this file, let it export, and after that you can rename this file to something else. So that way you can do this. Since I don't want to make it very complicated script, I just kept it with 10-15 lines, and rest all development is up to you. You can do, even if you're not expert in Python, this much of code is sufficient. As you can see, there's not much expertise required. You can just install all these libraries and run this file. So that was all about how to export Parquet, and I found it useful. You can call in SSIS packages. You can also schedule the job any way you want to implement it with, and you can just copy these files, like keep it in a location and call a SQL agent job to export. So that was all about today's discussion. We had quite a great look into how to use Python and installing libraries and creating virtual environment. So I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and I I hope it was quite quick and easy to implement. I hope you enjoyed this session. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to this channel and share the video with your friends and family. Thank you very much.